Good morning. It is Sunday, September the 8th, 2019, and this is the 24 hours of Bitcoin. It looks like we may have a bear flag in Bitcoin, and today I want to go over why $6,000 is probable before a long Bitcoin winter. So this is a 10-minute daily report on the price of Bitcoin followed by Q&A. Let's compare our four indicators across the time frames from weekly down to hourly. Then we'll check Bitcoin dominance and finish with a report and an overview of the important changes in the altcoin markets that you really don't want to miss right now. Post report, then I'll take a request for technical analysis over on the chat. Before we go through, I'll just pause at the disclaimer. This isn't trading advice, just market observation. And before I dig into it, so that you can make the most of this live stream, be sure to head over to the website and put in your email address. I'll send you a 1-hour webinar with a complete trading system. There's no catch. This free stuff and the Discord chat and our live stream is all you need if you're a beginning trader. And I give this away because beginners need it and because I offer deeper services for people who are looking for more help. So now let's dig into the chart. Today, as I'm going through this, I want to notice this bearish channel. It's a bear flag for me, and I want to prove it or disprove it. And as we go through the charts and our indicators today, I want to give an idea of what to expect going either direction. Because we're at a point right now where the market really could, it's in a triangle. It hasn't really decided fully yet which direction it's going. So every one of these indicators that I look at, I want to look and be aware of both sides because it's going to be extreme when it gets going. And we're at this undecided point right now. So we're at Bitcoin relative strength index on the weekly view. And each day we've been watching for this angle. As the week finishes now, we have a nice sharp point. And today finishes that candle. So if we have a drastic move, that may change, but pretty solid that it is giving us a nice turnaround like we've seen before. We could be easing up into this kind of trend from where we are. And this is the kind of thing we'll be watching for if it's going to be bullish. Now, if we're going to flip and we're going to go bearish, next week, this candle is going to break that point. And if we break that point, all hell is coming and we're heading for $6,000. $6,000 simply because it's the latest, biggest support and resistance. And if I do the logarithmic chart view, it gives a beautiful trend line right off that $6,000 level. Forward to something like March of what's next year? This way. So it'll take it quite a while. We'll ride the rail here for a while. And what is that? That's the third month of 2020, March of 2020. So there's my $6,000 prediction and why. Just really basic chart support and resistance levels. I want to get back to log and back to my price here. Okay, now let's go into the rest of the time frames. I want to get this down so that I'm doing it in 10 minutes and I'm not succeeding yet. This is looking bullish for me. This has broken this trend line and has staged higher lows in the RSI. That it's staging above these levels is that's our bull pen. That's where everything gets held in. And if we're seeing a cross down below these levels, that's going to confirm and happen at the same time as prices are breaking down here. And at the same time, if this continues to go higher off of this trend, so too will the prices, and we'll be breaking above these levels. Should we break above those levels and make any kind of structure, we are off to the races, and it's a completely different story. So we're right on the edge where if it flips this way, we're going down the left side or the west side of the mountain, or we're going down the east side of the mountain, one or the other. And it's going to be a quick fall either way. It's going to be with momentum. So that's why I want to do these daily and really zoom in on these to track it. Now let's continue on. 12-hour time frame. Also looking kind of bullish. This will a break of this level, a break of these levels will be our bullpen here. Everything has to stay above these levels now, and continuing on above this is going to be supporting our bullish break. And it will not be a bear flag that's setting up right now. But we can see a clear line that if it breaks out of that, it's out of the pen. It's out there, and we're going down. So we have some really specific levels here. Oh, I'm going to remember next as I continue on here. All right, continuing on, this isn't as bullish to me as it once was, where we have the RSI supporting the price moving up. That's still indecisive to me. It's the trend line itself and the past levels that are important, because we can see here that as it broke above these levels from where it is now, that was super bullish. But as it's breaking below those levels, that's where our bearish stuff happens. All the time when it's breaking below these levels, coming down and below those levels, that's when the bearish stuff happens. So we're at this key decision point again, where we've got what I'm saying is, I don't know, the bullpen. If the bulls break out of that pen, they are going their direction, whichever way they want. Now, what I wanted to do is see how quickly I can just copy this link. No, click on Twitter and tweet that screenshot. Let's just, as I do these live streams, I'll start tweeting out some stuff. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Just to have it so I can pull that tweet in later for the long-term tracking. And you see what happened with that candle right there? This just went more bullish as we're watching. Let's zoom in and clear the stuff off. Not as happy for the very short-term stuff. Now I'm overreading it probably, but I'm seeing a bearish divergence in the RSI right now. Let's go in with the rest of our indicators to fill out the picture, because we have the 1, 2, 3 formation. We know how that's setting up. We know what a bear flag is and a bull flag is. We know the triangle formation. So we're just trying to get down to the specific timing and to correlate it, track it over time. This is bearish for me, where we've got less volume on the far side. That's got to pick up. I keep saying that every episode. But here again, it's a bearish divergence for me that we have these tops and lower volume going on. And not just lower volume, but it's going to, on balance, selling. Even though we're ticking a green candle here, this is on balance still red. One day view. Into the 12-hour view. Now I'm seeing a shoulder of buying on this side, as we saw here. And it was picking me up to be quite bullish as this part was breaking off and picking up. I did a great trade on that. And stopped out here, closed my trade, took the profit. It was very nice. Now I'm just watching to see what's going on with this. How does it relate to this volume being less on this side? Does it make a difference? Let's zoom in on the 4-hour time frame. That's bearish as well, where we had a good run up of volume here and it's just petered right off across that top. So that supports more of a bearish flag drop out of here and gives us a very specific thing to be watching here on the 4-hour bar. We could watch this fill out. If this is coming down, we already know we're breaking, that it's selling volume coming in and not buying volume. Zoom in here. We had a good swath of selling to get into the close range. Then it turned into a bit of buying. So now again, we have another specific thing to watch. We could have two charts open with those RSI and our on balance volume, and we'd be able to ignore the chart itself and just watch these indicators. And they'll tell us the story. Let's go into one of my favorite now is the MACD indicator. Let's zoom back out because I'm giving the spoiler there. Here in the 1 week bars, 5-year view. This is negative for me. This is a cross to the negative, like we saw here, and it hasn't come back positive. It had the potential of not crossing and being part of a longer term uptrend, but it didn't. And so that's been bearish for quite a couple weeks now, 3 weeks. We've been saying the same thing over and over, watching this build out to see what happens. Now, it gets more confusing on the daily view. For me, this is a bullish signal to have these double crosses at a parallel while the prices are hitting these bottoms. So should this get support and continue on, that supports prices going up and continuing on, and we'll have to then see this pull back on the weekly and start to recross to the positive. Now, if we go into the daily and skip past this to see, I want to zoom in now on this front edge, and it's losing some of its traction. Yesterday, as we were looking at this was telling me positive, bullish, but now as this histogram is coming down and losing traction, it's right on the edge of crossing. So if we see this histogram go to the negative right here, that is bearish, and we're probably going down. We've got a cross to the negative, a cross to the negative. If this crosses to the negative, that supports bearish, especially if we are crossing this specific line. Of course, then we are passing technical levels that are really key. On the other hand, we've got a positive cross and a positive cross along these bottoms, so the answer isn't there yet. We know that if this flares wider and starts to continue up, that's going to support the buy here. So we have parameters on both sides, on the long and the short, to help make a decision out of these 1, 2, 3 formations. And that's sort of what I'm doing these daily things for, so that I can get this kind of inside data on what's going in behind the scenes on this 1, 2, 3 formation. So for me, this was losing steam, but as this histogram is coming up now, and this is going to cross positive, that's good. On the other hand, if this histogram bounces off this level and starts to go more negative, then you know it, we're going down. All right, let's clear this off and zoom in from the 4-hour to the 1-hour time frame on this, because it is looking like it's going to cross negative. It is so uncertain on both ways. It is every single indicator. It seems like if it does this, then we're up. If it does that, then we're down. Everything's on the knife edge right now. So we do have the parameters, but it is time to wait and watch. I think it's going down, but let's see. There's more data. Here's our Ichimoku cloud. On the weekly, it's still bullish. On the daily, it's bearish. And as I was saying yesterday, the last time we had this kind of triangle and we had the Ichimoku cloud go bearish, it took a long time, and then there was a sharp, sharp break. If this is the case, I do think we'll get that same sharp, sharp break. And we'll continue making this bottom formation. Should we come down to a bottom formation that does this, all of our indicators will turn all positive at the same time. We're not going to get this sketchy, I don't know, this way, that way, well, every single indicator. It's giving us a direction. Once it moves, we're getting lots of parameters to confirm it. But once it comes back down to these levels and gives us this bottom, we're going to have a complete change in our indicators, and they're going to be screaming for the bull at that moment. They're not screaming for it right now, so I'm more bearish just because of that. Let's go into the 12-hour view, because now it doesn't have all of the negative parameters in it. This is pushing up into the cloud, but we've got to see this blue line come back and cross the red. Of course, that will happen if prices break out of this, what could be a bear flag, and start coming down. We'll see that unfold. We do have a twist to the green in the chart, so this is positive. To have this come up and cut through everything, this trailing indicator, that's positive. So we have a few different things that are supporting positive here on the 12-hour time frame. They're not saying right off the bat that this is a sell signal in the downtrend. It will, as this pokes out of the cloud, that's a sell signal. As this crosses over here, that's a sell signal. If this twists back to the negative, that would confirm the sell signal too. Let's go in. 4-hour time frame is getting a little more sketchy. The last couple days, it's been a buy signal as it broke out of here. But now that the trailing indicator is starting to get in here, it's getting more noisy. We have the blue line is broken away from the red line. So that is a negative cross there. And the 4-hour does go above the cloud and below the cloud and all over the place. This is where we get into a lot of signal noise. But if we can combine it with the other things, then we can use this as confirmation. So again, if we are breaking above these levels here, we are going to be confirming one way, and the cloud will be twisting positive. We'll see all of that stuff happening. That, well, it is positive. We'll see it continue on thin and going up like we did here. But it's wide and sideways right now, so we'll see. I don't think it's more bearish to me. Go into the 1 hour time frame just to confirm more bearish or bullish view. This is also undecided and will not be decided until it breaks out of the cloud. The blue line crosses over the red, and this green trailing indicator breaks down below. This is bearish that it is red, but really it should be a skinny cloud pointing downward if we're going down. Now, if it breaks above here, we should expect this cloud to twist positive, and that the blue line is above the red line. And we'll see this trailing indicator continuing to cut up through everything. So crazy that, like, right down to the wire on all these indicators, they're giving us, if it goes this way, it's positive. If it goes this way, it's negative. We've got a whole battery of them. Let's see now. How am I doing for time? I got to get this down to 10 minutes. At 16 minutes, that's not bad. We're getting there. Good to see you guys tuned in for the chat. Let me continue on here. The next slide, we're going to go over Bitcoin dominance, and we're going to take a look at what this means for the altcoins and what has been shifting in them that makes me really excited about the alts. But before I get there, I've been preparing the ultimate BitMEX tutorial. The last 2 days, I've been going over hours and hours and hours of the best BitMEX tutorials that I could find, and I'm making notes on it. I've got 12 pages here, boiled down the best tactics and strategies and the power tricks from the best tutorials on YouTube that I can find, and I'm making the ultimate tutorial. And at the end of this, I've got a warning about some really scary trading tips from one of the top YouTubers. I wasn't expecting it, and tips you should never follow. And I'm super excited to be putting this video together. That'll be out in the next short while. Of course, you guys will be the first to know. This is Bitcoin dominance, and yesterday we were tracking this top formation, and it has broken significantly. Yesterday morning, as I was doing the altcoin video, we were right at the very moment of these bottom formations, and I took a couple trades on BitMEX, and then after doing my research on the ultimate BitMEX tutorial, I found I made a couple mistakes in my BitMEX trading, and it's turned out super well. One trade is up 130%, the other trade is up 138%. They're very small trades, but because I put them on the altcoins to the long side, as we had the 1, 2, 3 bottom formation breakouts in the alts, I did it on a higher leverage than I should have. I didn't realize how close the liquidation price was to my entry, and it immediately proved me correct. I got my stop losses above my entry, and I'm just going, wow, that was lucky break for me that I didn't do that tutorial beforehand. I would have done smaller leverage for sure. Now, let's go into some of the altcoins, because we can see here Bitcoin did this top and pulled back. And as it's going through this lazy, what I think is a bear flag, all of the alts have made a 1, 2, 3 bottom formation and started to break out. They started to break out and go higher before Bitcoin started to drop, before it started to rise. All of the alts started to show strength. And so it's okay if Bitcoin prices go up, so long as Bitcoin dominance is dropping at the same time. We could be in for that double dipping that we only had from March 2017 to July of 2017. March to July, April, May, June, July. 4 months to make hay, where we could take 4,000% gains on some of these alts if history repeats itself. And we're coming out of these bottom formations right now. So it's super important time to be paying attention to the alts and to be implementing not just the long-term strategy, but that first stage of planning for the long-term hold, planning for it. And then we are going to watch together like hawks for very specific exit strategies on all of these markets. Now that they are going up and they've broken out of a 1, 2, 3 bottom formation here, Now, the next point is to watch the uptrend. To watch the uptrend and to monitor it against historical levels all the way along. So every time it comes to historical levels, we are watching it, we are watching it, we are watching it. We're watching for the exit. We're watching for the exit. We're watching for the exit all the time. I don't trust a turnaround until I see more of it. And I'm still not going to trust it as it's turning around. I'm going to be layering my stops up underneath it, partly because I'm not trusting it, partly because I want to be ready for the long-term view. So in my BitMEX tutorial, I'm going over this kind of pattern, and I'm adding in more of the risk control rules so that you can use leverage at the right time. Use leverage when it's time to go nitro. And I'll explain what I mean using the charts and examples in that BitMEX tutorial. So I'm going to finish up now with a look at some really important data here from Binance. Binance, yes, too many of them that start with the same. Anyway, Binance has gone from 64 failing markets to 0 failing markets. My goodness. Down to 4 failing markets, it looks like. So a huge drop. All of these coins that were failing down to new lows, they've all picked up and they've gone into a near fail status. And a bunch of the near fail status have jumped up into neutral status. So this is the beginning of the formation of our real turnaround in the markets. Now, if you are close to the markets and you are trading more day trading, you're a very active trader, then you can zoom in on these markets and you can recognize these 1, 2, 3 formations. And you can see the little tiny 1, 2, 3, the break of the downtrend line, the breakout pattern where I was doing the live stream yesterday and I put on my ADA trade. And then it proved me correct. Everything was looking great all across the board. So I added on to this trade. And now it's moved up. I've got my stop losses moved up. And it's made a crazy 130% gains here because of the leverage I put on. And so I'm moving my stops up close to keep at least part of that trade. And then part of it is with a stop that is further back so that I keep it above the liquidation levels. But I'm also trying to stay in this trade for the long term, as long as I can with this trade, to make that profit biggest possible. So all of that stuff is coming up, and I'll go into more of these in the next live stream, on the altcoin live stream. Let me now go and check over on the chat, see what you guys are up to. As I was doing this BitMEX research, let's go back to Bitcoin. I also read through a whole bunch of the questions underneath the videos. So people did some really great BitMEX tutorials, but then there was loads of questions down below that people didn't get the answers they were looking for in that tutorial. And so not only did I take the great tips and tricks from what everybody else was talking about, I went through all the questions and I've been working those into my tutorial as well. So if there are questions that you guys have that I'm not following, I'm not I'm not going over, you have like live chat, you can ask me, you can direct me, and we can go over anything that you're looking for that I may have missed here today, especially since we're at such a uncertain crossroads in the chart. So, Trader Rituto, I'm getting fast at saying your name. OZK Dog, good to have you along. BTC is stable. It's stable. I don't know. If you take a drawn bow and it's staying still, you could say that the drawn bow is stable, but there's a lot of pent-up energy in this. It's built up and it's very strong from both sides. So there's a very big, just the technical levels, which I don't do as much in this video, to go over the 1, 2, 3 formations, the support and resistance levels. I'm really digging in, assuming that you've already taken the free training over on the website. You understand the formations that I'm tracking here. And so I'm assuming that I've got a more informed audience that is more educated on what we're actually doing as a trading plan here. So then I'm not just going into that part of the plan so much, but more into the behind the scenes. What are the indicators telling us about the plan as the plan is unfolding? Let me Hey, I love the vids. Nice and quick, but not rushed, like an espresso in Italy. Yeah, I like that. That's a good analogy. Not a cappuccino. See, the MACD weekly in 2016. MACD weekly in 2016. I did do a look at this from 2015 and 14. Like this looks so similar to where we are right now, just in a different zoom in mode. But after this big run up, and it looks like it's going to go up again, but no, we're going to get smacked and it's going to go for a while. We are potentially in this phase going up. And the MACD is going crossing higher and higher and higher all the way through this phase in the weekly. What year is this? 15. I remember this sideways thing for the longest time. I was trading for the long-term trend and just getting killed because I would put my stop losses just above my entry and this would come back and kick me out at zero profit, lose a bit of money, lose a bit of money, got kicked out at zero profit, lose a bit of money, lose a bit of money, got into the trade, boom. Thought I was a genius when I sold it at 750. So now the MACD in 2016 did the negative cross, everything pulled back, and then it crossed positive again. So we did have this pullback. We had a real routing. It pulled back up and held itself. And then we had the 1, 2, 3 bottom formation that built up and took off. So there is the weekly, and this is July of 2016. So from these levels of July of 2016 at $750 until February, March of 2017, we went from $750 up to $1,200. Then we went back to $1,000 and we went up to $3,000. And if that's the case, then we're going to be going back to old time highs, 20,000, sharp pullback, and then the big run up. But certainly we could see that the MACD went from a big cross here. It dove down, crossed to the negative, and then as it's building up, it crossed to the negative. It crossed to the negative, even on the weekly here. Crossed to the negative. You're right. So if I am pulling the chart back only to compare it to this part of the weekly, then I am missing out on that. How do I get that to work? Weekly. Then I am missing out on the views of how the weekly did cross over on the way up. It crossed to the negative and then it continued up. It crossed to the negative, then it continued up. And now we're crossing to the negative. So it does have the potential to continue to cross and to go to the upside. And if that's the case, and we're seeing these crosses to the negative and then going to the upside, these were really comparatively very much lower crosses. So the weekly came up just above the baseline, and then it crossed, and then it crossed. It was really building relative. You see how it's just above and staying quite a bit lower than this relatively as this is building. And those relative levels are really key. I think nothing in this indicator is absolute. It's all relative. So that it's come up relatively this much higher, up to the 50% level of this level. I don't do the Fibonacci's here as much as, but I should do the Fibonacci retracement to the 50% level of this move. It's just too coincidental that prices have come up to this 50% level and that they're hesitating right at the 50% level of the overall move. I'm still bearish. That they're stopping here is not good. I'm still feeling this in the months to come. So if this is the case, this is going to cross positive. Let's get back to my thinking that from your question, which is awesome. This is what I love the live stream for. I pick up more from this than maybe you guys do. As this is crossing to the negative and crossing to the negative and then going back to the positive on the weekly, we should be seeing the daily oscillating at these times. So it's the beginning of 2016. I know as soon as I flip to daily, then I'm screwed. I have to go back and figure it out again. Beginning of 2016. So we should see the daily oscillating to the negative, oscillating to the negative. It can oscillate way to the negative. And then as it's building, it's got to stay on the baseline. Even this oscillated to the negative before the crossover. So it's these crossovers that we can't ignore it. Every time it does a crossover, we have to be ready, and then be ready with your stop losses because you don't know if it's going to cross positive and back and forth or not. The weekly was oscillating and the daily was oscillating even more, which I expected. This is a better one though, because the daily crossed here, marked the bottom on the capitulation pattern. There's our capitulation pattern right there. Beautiful, actually, good example. Looks like a heartbeat. And then as this came up and it crossed to the positive and crossed to the positive, we were getting nice setups here. Then it's confusing as it's giving us this negative divergence, and we are getting a buildup here that actually went parabolic. These are really good studies to know and to come back and reflect on too. Let's say, I'm just going to tweet it out. I don't know if that's useful. Maybe I'll write a little note in there as we're doing that in the future. I'm just trying to get that habit in so that I'm doing those tweets during the live stream. It makes the information get out to more platforms, more useful to people who are not watching the video. And it's great stuff that it's time stamped that we can come back to and say, how did that actually work out? So this research back into 2016 MACD has been helpful, and it makes me want to look at the monthly view, which I don't do very often because there's crazy. What's going on? Let's go back to the 1 month view. Don't get distracted. 1 month view. There we go. Now I can pull this back, and this doesn't really help. It just crossed over and just stayed positive all like, and it's positive now. And that maybe that does help. Because monthly we're positive, weekly we're negative, daily it's a double bottom, 12 hour is getting into, right? We've got weekly, it's negative cross. On the daily, it's a double bottom and going up. On the 12 hour, we have rising crosses, but potential for it to go negative right now. We have the negative crosses all along the top. On the 4 hour, it's crossing positive, could be crossing positive. A flare to the negative here gives us, it's right on the edge. It's either way right now. It's crazy to be balancing on the point like that. Bitcoin is sort of like watching a World Cup soccer game where you just can't take your eyes off it because it'll flip so fast, and the game completely changes. But for my own part, when I zoom in on this, my eye immediately, and I hope your eye too, immediately sees the 1, 2, 3 formations here. So as we're coming up to any new high and double hitting it, now I'm seeing this as a 1, 2, 3 top formation right there. It's a double top, but same thing as a 1, 2, 3. Then we have a 1, 2, 3, and it's breaking below that. So we have a second nested 1, 2, 3. Should it break below these levels, now we're gaining momentum from 1, 2, 3 to 1, 2, 3 as it gets bigger. And then we've broken out of this parallel trend line, and there's even more added to it. It's sort of like that drip of water adds to the next drip of water, adds to the next drip of water. Those nested Russian dolls that you open up one and then there's a smaller one inside. this is the way these formations unfold for me. And the rest of it, all of these indicators, is just to give me an idea of what this 1, 2, 3 is doing. So we are seeing the 1, 2, 3 unfold right now. And we can watch it. I would be leaning to go over onto a short position right now on the smallest little bit of my first stage of the trade, knowing that if I am correct, it's going to prove me correct immediately, and that I can add on to it in a little bit when we get a larger 1, 2, 3 manifested. Really great to have a live trade on. Can I go short? Bitcoin. Market order. Sell short. The queue is currently full. You may resubmit your order. So, having your order in place ahead of time, as I am talking about in my Ultimate BitMEX guide, is perfect, because in the guide I've talked about this when Litecoin was taking off. I couldn't get a position on because of this very same thing. So market sell won't do it. As it bounces back up a little bit, then I'll be able to sell into it because there'll be buy orders coming in underneath it. So right now, the liquidation queue has got to be up there. All of the bulls who are just going full bull on this, they are getting their asses handed to them. If you're on high leverage, it is astounding how close your liquidation price is. When you're doing the 100 times leverage and you're putting it to the wall, you're just going to get yourself cleaned up. It is terrible. There is a time to put on nitro, and we're going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about the position sizing, the size of your account, and how to pick the leverage that is correct for your account rather than gambling. Having a specific strategy that's mathematical, based on our risk control rules, based on when to put on nitro, looking at the chart patterns so that we can really blast this off. Because now what's going, I compulsively have to look at ADA, just about to break out. I'm at 125% profit on that trade right now. Why isn't it breaking out the moment that Bitcoin is taking off? TRX, giving a little hint of strength, but not blasting. Litecoin, what are you doing in a top formation right now? You should be taking straight up. Ethereum also should be going straight up this moment, and it isn't. What's the deal? EOS, you're waking up first. Ripple, what's that candle there? This is like the alts are going down as Bitcoin is going down. That means Bitcoin dominance is going to be ticking up here. And that's not what we're wanting. But this could make a bigger 1, 2, 3 top formation and give us more momentum heading down. Where'd that chart go? So now I'm going to sign off on the Bitcoin thing because I want to go through all of the alts. And I haven't done my part of the bull market watch. AOL Chandra has done her part for Binance, but now I've got to go through Poloniex, and then I review everything on Binance, so I get a chance to get caught up on everything that's going on and start to pull out the details of our study that is showing which markets are going to be taking off first. So many cool things going on. Let's zoom back into Bitcoin right this moment. Maybe not with that chart. Oh, there we go. Quite the candle. And the RSI. 1, 2, there's our break. On the 4-hour time frame, on the 12-hour time frame, still not fully bearish actually. Broken here, we've broken that part of the trend line. Have we gone below our bullpen line? This is where it's getting keen. Now in the daily view, we also had that bullpen line that maybe it's starting to break. That if it broke this line, I was saying that it's bearish. The bulls are breaking out of their pen. They can't stay inside where it's got to stay inside this pen if we're going to be bullish. It's got to bounce up from here. So if we're breaking down on these, it's definitely bearish. Never mind the chart pattern and that it's a bear flag and that it's breaking down these levels. Yep. So it's all building up. Now we have a larger nested 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. A break below that is really pretty important. Still not the end. Still not death row. We still have some support that we could be pulling up here on this trend line, but it's getting sketchy. And then we have this bottom, of course, across here. So there's still lots of potential support, and we'll unfold this tomorrow as this might be coming up. So let's check this out. Really key support levels breaking right now across the board. All right. I'm going to sign off because I got to watch this ADA trade now that it's taking off like this. This is fun. This is the fun part of trading. Back to the live. Got way too many things going on. Flash crash live on YouTube. Still bullish now, or you think 6K? No, I've been bearish for a little bit, actually. The indicators yesterday were pretty strongly bearish. Yesterday, it was right around this time. Maybe just after. I think I did a video just before and just after so we could track what the indicators were actually telling us. And both of those videos are available in the past stream. And then we were doing a video right around this time when this was breaking out. Must have been that the Bitcoin video was before, and the Bitcoin and altcoin videos were done at this time, just after the breakdown. And I was still looking pretty bearish. I was still looking that the alts were taking off out of these formations. It was looking bearish for Bitcoin. And then it started to go up. I was short Bitcoin in this period here. And then I closed my short because prices were going up. And I added on to my TRX trade, which has turned out well. But the timing in my Bitcoin short was a little bit early, and I wasn't staying ready on each of these 1, 2, 3 top formations. I changed and put my money into this. So I'm still bearish and still think we are going down to $6,000. And I think it because there's too much money involved in Bitcoin. It's moving around too fast with too little market cap. The people who own gold and bigger amounts of money than that can swing this around, and they're going to do it on purpose because they know the long-term value. Look at, you can swing the prices in this big in this amount of time. There's some huge money being made here, and it's being done through manipulation. So that the bigger money, just like they've been suppressing gold and silver with paper money, they are now using paper money to make gold and silver go up. They are going to use paper money to suppress Bitcoin, and they are going to use Bitcoin. Then they're going to purchase all that Bitcoin at the super low prices. Then they're going to use paper money to drive the markets up. So I do believe that we are going to be going down from here, and it's going to make a beautiful bottom formation that it's going to be our moment. And I don't know, it's sort of like the swing in the playground. You can watch the momentum of it going one way and the other. And it doesn't matter if you deny it or not. It doesn't matter how you feel about it. It doesn't matter where you put your Fibonacci retracements and your Fibonacci circles or your trend lines or your moving averages. The only thing real in the chart, is a 1, 2, 3 formation. It's undeniable. You can't move it around. Once it's broken a 1, 2, 3, there is a specific actions to fold and unfold. It doesn't work all the time, so you have to have your risk control rules that are as part of the 1, 2, 3 formation as the formation itself. And once you have those, it's just a matter of patience, really. And sitting is where all the work is. That's the hardest part, sitting. Have you tried meditation? to sit still and not get up and do something, it is killer. It's really hard to do. Simply sitting. So practice Zen. Practice your 1, 2, 3s. And I'll sign off here and I'll get ready for the altcoin stream because I'm keen to go through and to catalog everything that's going on in the altcoins the same way. Get all these indicators written up or recorded so that I can, and I'll do a couple tweets of that as well as we're going through it. Now let me back to the chat. 45 minutes, goodness. Yes, the whales will give us a chance to buy at 6K. Flash crash. It's bouncing back after, yeah, see this bounce back is when I could be now taking my market order in Bitcoin. My market short. Clear this off. Yeah, and that's perfect. So never take action on the big dump. You've got to just bite the bullet whichever place you are, because you're inevitably, like if you were long here and you said I can't take it anymore and you got out here, that's the killer if you do your stops wrong. We'll talk more about that. But it was great to see this unfold as it went and to watch through what the indicators were doing. That was pretty cool to capture it live. Thanks for being here, everybody. Cole Jack Kleev. Wow. I probably really butchered that, but I'm happy to do it. How you pronounce somebody's name is important. Anyway, I'll sign off for now and I'll see you in the next episode. Cheers.